I extend my greetings to everyone marking the Mullivai tragedy today. There have been important developments over the last few months, including at the UN Human Rights Council. The United States has rightly designated the army commander who led the ground assault on the beaches of Mullivai at the end of the Civil War, attacking civilians, hospitals, medical staff, no fire zones. The UK should do that as well. Before the 2019 Sri Lankan election, lip service was being paid to the UN Human Rights Council resolution, which Sri Lanka co-sponsored with the UK after David Cameron's visit as Prime Minister. There was no serious effort to hold Sri Lanka to account. The new Sri Lankan government, elected in 2019, is no longer even pretending. It's just withdrawn. The Sri Lanka campaign, with Tamil, Muslim and Sinhalese support, has said, and I quote, "The current government has significantly reversed progress on 15 of the 25 commitments under Resolution 30/1 and halted progress on 7 others. There's been a presidential pardon for one of the only soldiers ever convicted for a wartime atrocity. Witnesses and victims have been intimidated, senior police officers taken off investigations, the former Criminal Investigations Department head arrested." The UK government needs now to respond with much firmer action than we've seen so far, and I hope do so well before the next time we all commemorate Mullivai.
Vanakkam. As the Member of Parliament for Ilford North and a long-standing member of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tamils, I want to send a message to my Tamil constituents and the whole Tamil community as we once again mark Mullivai and remember all of those people who suffered, died and went missing during those bloody, unspeakable events at the end of the Sri Lankan Civil War. It's my commitment to you to continue the campaign for justice, to make sure that those who are responsible for perpetrating human rights abuses and unspeakable acts of barbarism are brought to justice. I want to see a future for all of the peoples of Sri Lanka that's based on peace, freedom, democracy, all of the things that we hold dear. And that won't be possible without a process of truth, justice and reconciliation. It is also not possible so long as the Sri Lankan government continues to turn a blind eye to contemporary, ongoing human rights abuses in Sri Lanka. I'll do everything I can, using my voice and platform as a British Member of Parliament, working with colleagues in the British Parliament and parliaments throughout the world, to make sure that the historic and ongoing human rights abuses in Sri Lanka are brought to justice and brought to an end.
Hello, this is a message for my Tamil constituents and friends, and indeed the Tamil community right across the UK. As you mark 12 long years since the end of the Sri Lankan Civil War and the massacre at Mullivai. My name is Siobhan McDonough. I'm the Labour Member of Parliament for Mitcham and Morden, and I stand proudly alongside my Tamil constituents on their road to truth, justice and accountability. 12 years that has presented so much challenge, so little progress and so much pain. We all remember the horror of Mullivai massacre, the most recent peak of genocidal killings against the Tamils committed by the Sri Lankan state. The images of those final days of the Civil War are scarred on my memory. No one who saw could possibly forget. The mass violations of human rights left a stain of injustice on Sri Lanka. The world looked away, but today we will not. But despite the passage of time, human rights are again under attack in Sri Lanka. Intimidation that is perhaps best symbolised in January's demolition of the Mullivai Memorial itself at Jaffna University. That same month, the High Commissioner for Human Rights damning report warned that Sri Lanka is on an, and I quote, alarming path towards the recurrence of grave human rights violations. calling on the Human Rights Council to take strong action to promote accountability and reconciliation. In March, I had the honour of holding a debate in the House of Commons to coincide with the UN Human Rights Council meeting, where a new resolution on Sri Lanka was adopted with the UK as penholder. The debate was timely, with the opportunity to press the UK government with the imperativeness of finally securing progress. Since that debate, I have been asked by the Deputy High Commissioner of Sri Lanka if I will meet with them, and I have said that I will. It is a chance for me to make absolutely clear that we cannot and will not turn a blind eye. I'd like to finish this message by thanking all of my Tamil constituents, friends and neighbours, and I say loud and clear that however long the road to reconciliation may still be, we will keep fighting for justice and human rights until they are achieved in Sri Lanka.
My name's Gareth Thomas. I'm the Member of Parliament for Harrow West. Mulli Vaikul Remembrance Day is an important moment for the international community to remember the terrible events that took place towards the end of the conflict in 2009 in Sri Lanka, in which huge numbers of people lost their lives, predominantly citizens, as a result of indiscriminate government shelling by the government forces of Sri Lanka at the time. I wish that there had been the chance to bring to justice those accused of terrible war crimes at the end of that conflict, those who are now being accused of genocide by so many people around the world, including within my constituency. Sadly, the government of Sri Lanka continues to resist international efforts led by the UN to bring to justice those who perpetrated those terrible human rights abuses. I think there has to be a referral to the International Criminal Court, and for the government of the United Kingdom to use its powers to take sanctions against individual members of the Sri Lankan military and Sri Lankan government who quite clearly were responsible for terrible war crimes at the end of that conflict, certainly at least until they can appear before a court of justice. I will be using my continued opportunities in the House of Commons to press for the UK government to take action, to show more leadership than it has done so until now, and continue to press the United Nations and in particular the Sri Lankan government to respect international opinion and to allow a full independent inquiry to take place into what really went on at the end of the conflict in 2009. Thank you for listening.
I'm Sam Terry, Member of Parliament for Ilford South. Today is 12 years since the Mulli Vaikul massacre. Tamils across Ilford and across the world will be marking this solemn occasion at a time when in Sri Lanka things are worsening for many Tamils. The actions of the Sri Lankan government bringing forward the death penalty for drug offences, moving away from a peaceful and negotiated way forward, including demilitarisation for the northern parts of Sri Lanka where many Tamil communities reside, looks further away than it has done for a long time. I'm calling on the UN to step up, and the British government through the UN to step up the pressure on the Sri Lankan government to move things forward, to ensure that the human rights abuses still being perpetrated by the Sri Lankan government are tackled head on, and our British government is serious about holding the government in Sri Lanka to account and using all diplomatic mechanisms possible. Members of our Tamil community in Ilford often write to me, telling me about their experience, about the experience of their families and their wider community. It's been 12 years since the end of the armed conflict, but life for Tamils and the fight for justice and the right to self-determination is still a long way off. But rest assured, as the MP for Ilford South, the Tamil community and our local Tamil community, I'll be working incredibly hard to ensure that you have justice, self-determination, and that all of the religions and peoples that exist on the island of Sri Lanka are able to do so with a shared future, free from repression, free from human rights abuses, and free to have self-determination within that island. Democracy, after all, is the key to freedom, and it is real democracy that the Tamil people seek.
Today we mark the 12th anniversary of the end of the brutal armed conflict in Sri Lanka. As we remember the victims, my thoughts are with their families and their loved ones. The tragic events at Mulivaikal marked the last phase of the war, where thousands of innocent civilians were killed indiscriminately in no-fire zones. The government denies justice to millions in the face of evidence of genocide and continues to be party to acts of intimidation and threats of violence. In January this year, the Mulivaikal Tamil Genocide Memorial in Jaffna University was destroyed in an attempt to remove sites of remembrance in the region. The Sri Lankan security forces have intensified their surveillance of Tamils during this year's Memorial Week. They have obstructed the construction of the Mulivaikal Memorial Monument in Mulivaikal East this week, at the site where tens of thousands were killed 12 years ago. I stand in solidarity with the families of those who suffered war crimes and want to peacefully commemorate their loved ones. I urge the government to lift restrictions on the Remembrance Week events and allow Tamils to conduct the commemorations in a safe and COVID-secure way.
2009 ஆண்டு முள்ளிவாய்க்காலில் எங்களுடைய